Hello and welcome to the second lesson on what are the issues faced by growing cities. So in last lesson you looked at what urbanisation is, what it means and why it happens. We're going to start off with a quick quiz. So I want you to write the numbers 1 to 6 in the margin and just write the answers. There's going to be 6 slides coming up with different questions on. For each one you need to pause using the space bar to allow you to write down your answer. So starting now. So this is question 1. Pause so you can answer it. Question 2. Question 3. 4. 5. And 6. So if the answers are coming up now, please pause and rewind if you need to, if you've not done all the questions. So here are the answers. Check your answers. Any that you got wrong, correct, but hopefully you'll be ticking most of them. So see how you got on. You could post how many marks you got out of 6 to your teacher on Teams. We'd like to see how you're getting on. So in today's lesson, you're going to learn about megacities. What are they and where are they? So today's lesson objectives include trying to learn some new key geographical vocabulary. As well as doing all the tasks, we want you to really start thinking about what life would be like to live in one of these big megacities. Right, so if you haven't already put today's date, make sure you do so. And then put the title, What are megacities? Make sure you underline it. Then I want you to copy and complete these 2 sentences with a definition and example. So I think megacities are, so tell me what you think megacities are. And I think an example of a megacity is, so give me an example of a megacity. So I want to take this opportunity to explain 4 different categories of city. So millionaire city, capital city, world city and megacity. You might want to briefly pause here to see if you can think what each one might be. So, a millionaire city, this is not a city full of millionaires, which many people will often think. It's a city of at least 1 million people. Now, in the past, that would have meant that it would have been a very, very large city and quite unusual. However, in more recent times, due to lots of rural to urban migration and population growth in general, a millionaire city is quite common nowadays. Capital city. This is where the government meets in that country. Now, it's often the biggest city, like for example in Britain, we've got London, which is also our biggest city, but it's not always the case. A good example would be in Brazil. So Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro are by far bigger cities than Brasilia, which is the capital of Brazil. So the capital is generally where the government meets. A world city is a city of global importance. Now, good examples of those would be London and New York, somewhere like Singapore as well. These are often have many characteristics, but a key one would be they're important for global trade. So if anything was to happen to these cities, it would cause problems all across the world. So those cities are important for global trade. Also might be cultural importance, or maybe venues or for major sporting events such as the Olympics or the World Cup. And finally, a megacity. This is a city of at least 10 million people. Now, if you went back 50, 60 years, there are only a handful of megacities, but now there are ever increasing number of them. Okay, so what I want you to do now is pause this video here, and you can write it as a table, or you can just write out the definitions for each one. But I want you to write down the 4 types or categories of city, and I want you to write down the correct definition next to it. So pause the video here, so you give you a chance time to write it down. So here are the answers to check that you got them correct. Also, go back to the very start of the lesson where you had a guess at what a megacity was. Were you correct? Did you get it right? If not, just add a correction to it. So I think you may have done Venn diagrams in maths before. This is a very challenging task, but I want you to spend 2 or 3 minutes having a go at this. So if you think about the 4 definitions, you might think, well, there might be 1 or 2 cities that fit into all of these categories, and a lot of cities will only fit into 1. So what I want you to think about is, where is there overlap between these different categories of cities? And draw it out as a Venn diagram. So where you need to show they're overlapping if a city could be both or more than 1 of these. And pause it for a few moments now, and before checking over the answers. So here is my Venn diagram. If yours looks like this, I think you're correct. However, if you struggled on that, don't worry. I did think that would be a very challenging task, and we can do more of those in future times. Now, I'm fairly confident that you'll know lots of megacities. So I want you to think of megacities that you know, and write down the first 5 that spring to mind. So the first 5 most obvious megacities that spring to mind. So pause the video briefly now to do that. So here is a graph of megacities in 2020, showing how many millions there are in each city. You might want to check your answers from just the slide before to see if your cities are in here. I'm now going to read which continent each of these cities are in from the top. I want you to see if there's any pattern that you notice. So from the top, Asia, 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 South America, Asia, North America, Asia, North America, Asia, Africa, Asia, Europe, Asia, South America, Asia, Asia, North America, Africa, Europe, Asia, 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 Africa, Asia, South America, Asia, 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 Europe, Europe, Asia. So you probably got slightly irritated by the amount of times that I said Asia in that last slide. So here is a map of the top 20 megacities from 10 years ago in 2010. So you notice they are quite spread around the world, but there's quite a lot in Asia, and then there's a few there's 2 in Africa rather, 2 in Europe, 3 in North America, and 3 in South America. So here is a map to show how this will change. By 2100, the top 20 cities are expected to be all within Asia and Africa. So pause the video here to answer these 2 questions. So firstly, describe the distribution, so where they are, of the top 20 largest cities in 2010. Is there any patterns? Think about continents and pick out any examples to back up what you're saying. And then question 2, how is the distribution of the largest megacities set to change? So how is the spread of the largest cities set to change? And what do you think the reasons for this might be? So pause the video here to allow you to answer those questions. So look at these 4 pictures of New York. The one at the top shows New York in 1876, when there was only 1 million people living in New York. New York was the first ever megacity, passing 10 million in the 1930s. It now has 22 million people living there. Tokyo is the world's largest city of our population, with 37 million people living there. That's over half of what live in the entire of Britain. The picture at the top shows that in 1945, after the devastation caused by the dropping of the atomic bombs. Dubai is not a megacity. It only has about 3 million people living there, which makes it huge compared to Nottingham, but quite tiny compared to some of the other cities like Tokyo that we've been looking at. What's really interesting about Dubai is the speed in which it has grown. So you can see in 1990 almost nothing was there, and it's built in a desert. By 2013 it's grown to a massive and very modern city. And most of this is due to oil wealth that's been found in the area. Shanghai is a very interesting city. In a way, it sort of encapsulates what has been happening to particularly Asian and even more so now African cities as well. in 1990, only 8 million people lived in Shanghai, but by 2014, 24 million people lived in it. So it's grown enormously within that time. So here's your task. I want you to write a short paragraph to describe how one of these cities has changed. So just pick one of them. You can go back and choose any of the mega cities that I've looked at. So describe how it's changed, say what you see, use adjectives to help you explain or help you show what you mean. So this is your final task for today. I want you to imagine you're the boy on the bicycle who lives in the village again. Your parents have decided that they are definitely going to move to the family to Mumbai and are going tomorrow. These two photographs are the only pictures you have ever seen of your new home. I want you to write a diary entry of your hopes and fears, what you think it will be like in Mumbai. Think about sounds, sights, smells, and much more. Really put yourself in this boy's shoes. What are you going to be most excited about? What are you going to be also worried about? I would like you to write your answer to this in the Q&A section on Teams. That will allow your teachers to see what you're writing and what you're answering. So write your answer to this in the Q&A section on Teams. So to summarize today's lesson, we've learned that megacities have at least 10 million residents. The megacities, world cities, and capital cities aren't all the same thing. That the distribution of the world's cities is changing. That cities grow upwards as well as outwards. And that some cities are growing extremely quickly. Next lesson, we're going to have a look at what special issues do fast-growing cities face. So thank you for watching this lesson. Make sure that you've commented in the Q&A part on the Teams. But until next time, stay safe.